what's going on, guys? Welcome to Torch Tales, Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, aka Traveling Frankie. You know how this works. Someone sits here. I was going to say someone sits there, but in this case, they're sitting in front of me. So this is my first video chat, and you guys do not want to know what just happened. It took me about 20 minutes back and forth, internet, Wi-Fi, who knows, who cares? Here we are, and I'm lucky enough to have a guest that I've been trying to have for about a year or so. She's out of Ontario, Canada, and she's a pipe welder, second generation. She's been in the industry for over 20 years. Metal fab artist, you name it. You know, she's done it all. In fact, way more than I can even imagine because I have no clue what I'm doing. It looks like she does know what she's doing. So good for her. And her name is Courtney Chard. And again, Courtney, thank you so much for sitting here with me. Not only because of taking the time, but also the extra time to make sure that we got it right because it was a pain in the butt trying to get this from the beginning. So thank you again. And
You're
I know I've
welcome.
asked you already a little bit of, where you're from, which you share that you are from Ontario, Canada, correct?
Yes, I'm about
Yeah,
45 minutes outside of Toronto.
I got it. And I know that when I asked you earlier, second generation, you mentioned because your dad was a pipe welder himself, right?
Yes.
Now, let
So
me
he
ask
was
you
in the
this.
same local union that I'm in.
Gotcha, which is
Sorry.
46, correct? No, it's okay. By the way,
Yes.
just so you know, I interrupt my guest all the time. There's a little bit of a delay. That's why when I ask, I think there's a few seconds. I see you're nodding your head. I'm like, okay, that's a yes, that's a no, and yeah, sorry. Um, Now, tell me, growing up watching your dad being a pipe welder, was that something that you thought, hey, maybe someday I can be the same thing, or did you ever had something, some other inclination to do something else?
It wasn't really, so I'm 46. So
Oh wow,
when
so
I
am
was
I.
in school, okay. So when I was in school, it wasn't really introduced to women. So we were always taught, you got to pick what you're going to go to college or university for. So I didn't realize I could even do it. But when I picked my college course, I was really unhappy and I knew immediately that I didn't want to do that. But I also knew that I wanted to have a career where I could have the same lifestyle that my parents provided me with. So
I
there was a
see.
bit of that pressure, and I've always was a bit of a tomboy, and I always, kind of liked things that weren't traditionally considered for women.
Right.
So it wasn't till I was kind of panicking to like, how am I going to support myself as an adult? And in the situation in college where I wasn't happy, where I finally got the courage to kind of say, "Hey, Dad, I would like to get into the trade." And he was really supportive, but it
Okay.
wasn't something that was ever presented to me as something I could do. Now it's different. Now we're in schools all the time and we're speaking to kids, as young as kindergarten and introducing
Wow.
them to the trades and, allow and letting women know that they can do this and pursue this type of career. And, there's so much more support going out there for women now. We realize that um, the women need a little bit more support at certain times in their lives, if they're having children. And we're encouraging them now to, come back after children. Um, and
That's
my
awesome.
union gives support to women when they're pregnant, so there's compensation there because there's a lot of money that gets spent in training an apprentice. And thousands and thousands of dollars go into a 5-year apprenticeship, a 3-year apprenticeship, whatever it is. So we don't want to lose these workers just because they
Gotcha.
feel like they can't come back after they have had children. So that didn't exist for me, but I'm really pleased to see that it's available now for others.
Now,
Yeah, it's helpful.
yeah, and I totally agree. There is a big push in today's world for many reasons. One, because of equality. Second, because they've realized that welders are needed. And when you go look back into the wars, men were fighting and the women were the ones welding and doing everything. So it's like, why did it go back to the
That's right.
original, right? So it makes no sense. So I'm glad that at least you are trying to pay it forward and show other little girls that, look, if I can do this, so can you, and so on, so on. But growing in this male oriented industry like you did, watching your dad and all that. So did you actually ever see another woman kind of doing something alike, or not really?
No, not really. Not before I got in the trade.
Really?
Once I was in the trade, occasionally, even still, I'm the only woman, on sites. Like I may bump into like another woman on a job site, but they're usually a different trade than I am. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, I think we're still only 4% of the industry
That is true. I think
in
that's
Canada,
about
at
right.
least. I think so.
No, that's in the US as well. I
Yeah.
think it's very close to that. Now, have you ever worked in the
Mhm.
States? Have you ever come over and worked in your trade in the US side?
I haven't. Toronto's a very big city, and I'm very fortunate to be in the Toronto local. And we have a infrastructure to maintain, and we're fortunate in this local to pretty much work 12 months out of the year, and I haven't had that need to travel, which is,
Gotcha.
I feel blessed that I can stay at home and be at home with my daughter every night. So for me, it suits my lifestyle. But I know a lot of steam fitters and welders that kind of go on pipeline, and I used to before I had my daughter Hayden, and just traveling to that. I just did it inside of Ontario though.
Gotcha. No, that's pretty cool. And growing up in Ontario as a kid, now that we know that we have the same age, so we're pretty much 80s, 90s babies. When it comes to music and genres and all that. Um, w-
Generation
so
X.
right there you go. Yeah, there you go. I think we're the best. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
um, So growing up and watching your dad, like I mentioned before, and you knowing that, hey, maybe I don't want to go the conventional route. And when you went to college, and you saw, oh, pick out of these 10 things that it's something that you probably would end up doing because you're a woman, right? What was that one thing that they were kind of, I'm going to use the word pushing at you in the beginning to look at, other than the trades?
Okay, so if I think back to high school, I remember everyone pushing like technology, computers. And
Gotcha.
if I remember correctly, you probably remember this too. So everyone was kind of pushing technology, but I believe it got really oversaturated because I think
Yes.
everybody went into it.
Computer
And then there was no
engineering and
jobs.
yeah,
Yeah. Man, I'm having to search those memory banks. Yeah, I remember that. And maybe teachers too. And I believe that got oversaturated with my generation as well. And I remember a lot of my friends having to be supply teachers and then still like, work in a restaurant bartending.
oh yeah,
And they were on like almost a wait list, and they had to supply teach while they were bartending, waiting for, a teacher to retire to get in, because they kind of had like this like backlog of teachers. Yeah.
I
So it
gotta
was either
say,
like teaching or like computer.
now that you mentioned bartending, I think I gotta say that's one of those things that I always wanted to do and that I never got to do. And even I travel for a living, so I always find myself at a bar, and I'm comparing. I was like, you know, I would have been great at this. It's something that stuck with me forever, and I don't know. Maybe I'll go back for a weekend or so and
The
take a class.
tips were good.
Right?
The
I bet.
tips were
I
good.
know some people that make
Yeah,
six figures. Yep.
the cash.
For sure.
It's funny you bring that up. That's funny. It's funny you bring that up because I have a little story and it relates to the trade.
Cool.
So I was working at Kelsey's and I was a server and a bartender. And it
Okay.
was that time where I applied to the union and got into the union. So I'm a first year apprentice. So back when I was a first year apprentice, I believe the starting rate was like $10.50 or something. And I got on a job and I remember we were working all this overtime and I was like working every day of the week, overtime, you know, as an apprentice, slugging. It was very difficult, you know, when you
Yeah,
first get in the trade. And I
I
remember
bet.
I was so excited to see my T4. And I was like, it's our taxes at the end of the year here?
Yeah.
So I get this T4 slip and I open it up and I was thinking I was going to make so much money. And it was only like $40,000 or something. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table and I was crying because I had worked so hard and so many hours and that was it, you know? And my dad was just sitting there and he's like, it gets better.
Yeah.
So I had trust in the fact because at that time now I was making less money than I was when I was bartending. But the thing with that
Oh,
was I had to make less for, you know, a couple years to make, you know, triple more in the end. And
it's
that's the thing.
investing. It's
Like if you
investing in
can,
yourself. Yeah.
it is. So, you know, you're a bartender, you make, you know, at the time $200 a night in tips cash. Yeah, but that's this level. And then if
Yeah.
you know, then I had to go backwards and start down here. But in 3 years, I'm like here and then just keep going up. So,
No,
yeah.
it's funny because I think most people just sometimes they look at someone like you or somebody else and they just look at the end result. They don't know about the 10,000 hours before, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
where most people, even when they want to sell welding to you, it's like, oh, come in, you're going to make six figures right away, you're going to make a killing. It's like, no, be realistic. The potential's there, of course. You can make, who knows, as much as you want to, but not from the get-go. Not every
No,
it's That's a very 1.2 percenters out there that start luckily in a thing where they just make a ton of money. It's a lot of
right.
grunt work in the beginning. You're grinding a lot in the beginning. Let's just put it that
Yeah.
way.
But it is
Uh,
worth it in the end.
it is worth it. Now, did you actually in high school and college you actually started putting yourself through school for welding? This, you once you knew, hey, this is what I'm going to do, you picked it, or did you went to a vocational school outside of the conventional schooling system, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so once I knew that I wanted to weld, my dad kind of worked with me a bit in the shop.
Okay.
But we also knew because the union hall usually takes apprentices once a year. So you have to kind of wait for that intake to get an apprenticeship. So in the meantime, I went to, a local college and then took like some welding courses, blueprint reading, anything that kind of related to the trades. So then when the intake was happening at the hall, I could put all that on my resume. Like, oh, she did, a little course with welding and she did a little bit of blueprint reading. So that all helped me get into the union, right? Because you're separating yourself from everybody else.
For sure.
So I definitely encourage, anyone who asks and if they're waiting, for that intake, well, while you're waiting, go take a college course, trade related, see if you like it. Because sometimes you'll know right away if you like welding or not. As soon as you get in that booth, you pretty much know if it's for you.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's not for everyone.
Oh yeah. Just
So
don't look into the light. Yeah, yeah.
but it's good to take those courses and there's so many available now and you can do like introduction to the trades where you touch on a little bit of electrical, you can do a bit of carpentry, masonry, welding, plumbing, and then you can kind of gravitate to what you like. So I think that's useful.
It
um
is. It is. Plus, all of that. other stuff you learn, it comes in handy because you are going
Mhm.
to find yourself building and thinking outside the box. The material changes, the way you glue them together changes, but the process, the thinking skills, it all comes in handy. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Who's the better welder, you or your dad?
I would say, oh, this is a tough one. So my dad was mostly a pipeline welder.
Okay.
Um, and so his specialty was pipeline,
Okay.
and he was an excellent pipeline welder, and hands down he would be a better pipeline welder than I ever was.
Okay.
I work in ICI, so industrial, commercial, and institutional. So I would work in a fab shop and I will spend, weeks on a MIG welder. Then I will go into the field and I might have to TIG weld. And then I might go on site and I might have to stick weld. So I would say I'm more
Verse.
versatile. Like he could do those processes, but I would think I'm probably a bit more confident on them than he would have been. So yeah.
Very, very great answer, Courtney. I love how you dance, so everyone's great. Great answer. And what came first? Were you always artistic? Because I know you create art, functional art and all kinds of things. Was that
Yeah.
something that you always had, or that just also came as you got into the industry?
No, so I always enjoyed art, and I actually went to a school of the arts for high school, and I was in their visual arts program.
Okay.
So, but you always get told like, okay, there's no money in art, so like you got to get like kind of
Yeah.
a solid career. And so went into welding and steam fitting and learned my trade. And then once I got those skills, I was still artistic, still had to express myself. And then that's when I started to use my welding and steam fitting skills and brought in the metal art and then have become a metal artist.
That's
So
pretty cool.
it is.
And with all the work you do, your full-time job, your metal art, it's of course your baby. That's you. That represents you 100%. What you see, what you envision, and all that. How much time do you actually have to make art nowadays?
It's difficult. Like even like so I ended up working yesterday.
Yeah.
Where usually we only work 36 hours. So I
Okay.
work the Friday. So usually I have my Fridays off, which is good. And my daughter's in school. So that gives me like one day where I can do it and not be kind of interrupted.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to make time for it. I have to make time for it. And I find it's a really good outlet for me and I need it. And I find if I don't get to do it for a really long time, I almost become like grumpy or it affects my mood. So
All right.
I need that time to just create. And it doesn't have to be like an elaborate sculpture. It doesn't
Correct.
have
Yeah.
to be, like even if it's just making something little. And sometimes if there's, time at work and I can just kind of be creative and make something, whether it's like a rocket stove or it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. It just has to allow some sort of creative thinking for me and then I'm fine. So
And would you say that because of the structural work you do, which is very linear and very structural, meaning hey, follow these blueprints, follow this, follow
yeah.
that, and when you're creating art, which is an outlet, you said it well. Do you think you are a or B type person? Like, when you are creating art, does it have to be perfect? Hey, that cut needs to be, 5 inches and 3/4, or it's kind of like just go with the flow.
Yeah, so when I'm creating art, it's very much go with the flow, see where it takes you. Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Cool. How would you describe your art if someone asked you, give it a name for it?
Um, Actually, I had a friend describe my art as edgy, and I like
Okay.
it. So we'll go with that.
All right. All right.
Edgy.
So you think you're edgy?
Welded metal art. I do. Yeah.
All right. What
I
kind of
liked
music
it.
you're into?
Oh, I listen to everything. But it's funny. I had some on the way here today. I had some like grunge, like yeah, 1990s grunge. I think they were playing Nirvana. So
Yeah, I was
just
going to say
everything.
very Seattle.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense.
for the
And how?
generation.
Hey, are you kidding? I been from South Florida and being also '90s kid. I remember here listening to pretty much anything and everything. So sometimes people ask, "What do you like?" I'm like, actually,
Everything.
just everything. It's hard not to. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no way. It's like, yeah, yeah. Actually, there is. Yeah, it depends what day, what morning, what
What
afternoon.
mood?
That's
What
yeah.
mood? Yeah.
That's it. How old's your daughter?
My daughter's 11.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what do you think she's going to be into?
So I think she'll be in some sort of trade. She really wants to have her own business though. So she wants
Oh,
to, yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah.
gotcha. So social media has it played a part on your personal life, on the art, on how you promote yourself? Like you're really an advocate for social media.
I think social media is excellent if used properly.
Yeah.
Um, I think it can be so addictive. Like I think everybody like gets in those scrolling where you're just like
Oh yeah,
scrolling like a zombie. That's really hard to break. Sometimes I think we all fall victim to that.
for sure.
It's been an amazing um, community and network for me.
Okay.
And I try to be pretty disciplined with what I post and what I don't. I really try and keep it to work and my art. And I try to keep my personal life, out of it.
For
And
sure.
My daughter Hayden knows like if I post, she has to technically be working for me to put anything on. So I think with those rules, those rules work for me and my family. But yeah, I've met so many people, have so many opportunities. I sell my art through social media. I've gotten sponsorships through social media, podcasts. It's been
Yeah.
really wonderful. Um, and it is a way to give back and, you know, which I feel like, I should do as maybe more now I'm, one of the more senior women in the trades in my
Yeah.
union. So I do try to give back and mentor other people. So I
That's
think
that's
it's
pretty cool.
wonderful. Yeah.
Are you part of the CWB in Canada?
I don't know what that is.
Isn't that the Canada Welding Bureau?
Oh,
Um,
Canadian Welding Bureau. Yes.
yeah.
I'm not a part of it because they're more structural.
Gotcha.
I've taken courses there. I've actually did 2 commission pieces for them. I've done articles with them. I think they're a wonderful association. And
Gotcha.
I actually have had my structural tickets in the past where I've needed them.
Got it.
So yeah, they're great. They're a great
Yeah.
organization.
What about
Definitely.
what about FabTech, both either Canada or US? Have you ever been to?
I've never been and I want to
What?
go
Wait,
so
wait, wait.
bad.
What? Whoa, whoa, whoa. 20 plus years in the industry,
Yeah.
pipe, pipe welder, metal
Yeah.
artist, and you've never been to a FabTech. Are you
I've
kidding me?
never been. I want to go so bad. And I love Florida, by the way, because people laugh at me. They're like, "Why do you like Florida so much?" I'm like, "I love Florida because it's just like Canada but warmer." Um, no, but like it's very familiar. Like I'm not afraid to drive down there. The language is the same. I'm not
Yeah.
worried where I'm gonna eat. Like I'm not gonna get sick. Like I can drink the water. Like everything's great.
Yep.
Um,
Awesome.
but I've never been, and it's usually because I'm working and the trade shows are literally in the middle of the week. So to go to
That is,
Fab Shop, I'm like, Fab Tech, sorry, I have to like take off work, like, sorry guys, I'm going to Fab Tech. I'm not going to be here for 3 days.
I know. But it's one of those things. Everyone finds themselves in that situation, and once they go once, they
Yeah.
because of the relationships they build and the stuff, the knowledge they get, they're like, oh my god, why haven't I done this before? Like, what was I thinking? So you should try at some point. You definitely got to
Especially
try.
this year. It's in Florida this year.
Or Orlando. You can bring your daughter, and go watch, Mickey Mouse or something at
Mickey
one of the
Mouse.
parks.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
for sure. And when you look at social media and some of the stuff that people, let's say a U.S. welder or a content creator versus a Canadian welder, do you see a difference in the way that people approach things here versus the way they approach things in Canada? Is there a big difference?
No, you know what? Well, not in the piping industry. So in the
Okay.
piping industry, because you guys have, it's a United Association. It's North American wide.
Yeah.
So in our piping industry, our standards are pretty much the same across the board.
Okay.
Obviously, if you get into like different states, you guys can
Yeah.
have like a different style. Like you guys wear the pancake welding
The
shields a
pancake. Yeah.
lot. We wear sugar scoops up here.
Okay.
But overall, like it's such a community and brotherhood. And if you're a pipe welder, you're a pipe welder. And you kind of do procedurally the same things. And it's all kind of got that like it's always kind of like that Western cowboy vibe slash welding. It's a neat mix.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, that okay. That's I can see that. And based on what you said earlier, though, that when you very politically answer, who was better between your dad and you, and you mentioned all the other processes that you do handle, I guess more reverse. Which one would you still say that it's your best process? And
And
what was
my
your best? What's your best process, and what was your first process you learned?
So first process is like MIG. I think
Okay.
everybody kind of starts out on MIG because it's easy. My
Okay.
favorite process
Okay.
is stick. I love stick welding. It's my
Really?
favorite. Love it. Love everything
But
about it.
really? Oh, it's the
Yeah,
it's the fumes, I tell you.
yeah. A lot of people actually I did notice in the States, you guys seem to in the refineries and stuff, you guys
Yeah.
TIG weld a lot everywhere. I
Huh.
notice. Unless you're pipeline. If you're not pipeline, you're usually TIG welding. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But
And do you,
oh sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, are you going to Tradeswomen Build Nations? It's in New Orleans this year. It's the end of September.
You know
It's the
what? You're the second person that mentions that, and I had completely forgotten.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit again what it is.
It's the largest convention in North America for women in the trades. Crazy. Yeah. So
You know
it's
who
like,
mentioned it? Jamie from Made in the Trades. She's from
oh
Canada as
yeah,
well.
she's on Kick Ass Careers with me. We're good friends.
Oh, cool. So I just had her on.
Oh
She was,
great.
yeah, yeah. She was while I was in Canada. So she was the one that mentioned it. Yeah.
We'll be there together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So September when?
I think it's September 27th to 29th in
Huh.
New Orleans.
Oh, what a place to be.
Uh-huh. So yeah,
September, and it's called Women's in Trade.
Trade Women Build Nations.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm writing these down because I'm going to check it out.
I don't know if you could physically get in
I
as
I
a
know I
ticket
know.
holder,
I'm
but
a
if
guy. I get it. Yeah.
no, we have male allies. We love our male allies. We're not
Yeah.
against men at all. We need men. We need men to support us, and we know
Of
that.
course. All right.
No, I just think it's the tickets are sold out for the convention, but all you would have to do is like literally hang out and you could have like, I don't know, thousands of interviews right there with women. Yeah.
That's that. Well, in fact, and because I'm a national sales guy, like I'm everywhere at once, so I can be definitely. I'll check it out. I think there's a few other things going in September, but that would be a nice piggyback from one of my
Oh,
trips and just be around town.
it'd be fabulous. It's quite the experience. It really
Really?
is. Yeah.
Oh, very, very cool.
Yeah.
I'll try to look into that. And how do you guys? Let me rephrase the question. Do you still have to keep up with certifications and stuff like that for the union?
Yes, we do. So as a pipe welder, we are TSSA certified and tested. So every year I will retest for my welding ticket. And sometimes, depending on the job, I would have to test job specific. So even
I
though I
see.
test yearly, they may require other additional tests. And I test on all processes. I do MIG, TIG, and stick test.
Oh, really?
And it's a pipe test on a 45 fixed position, and then they bend it. They bend your straps. Some jobs, I have one coming up where it'll be 100% X-ray. So
Hmm.
for that job, they will X-ray every single weld.
Oh, wow.
So we are tested constantly. I kind of laugh or tease because I do have my steam fitters, but you write that kind of once and then it's done. Like you never you don't have to do any
Yeah.
further testing. But with a welding, you're tested every year, every job. So yeah.
Wow. That's I'm not sure. Well, I'm sure based, North America that, it's very similar here.
It would be for
So
pipe
yeah,
anyways.
yeah. So I would think so. Now, I promise you we're done. What do you like to do on a personal level? You're not welding, you're not creating art. What else do you like to do?
Oh God.
There's no hood or gun in your hand. What else are you doing?
Well, I mean, I'm a full-time mom, so I
Oh,
like to spend time with my daughter. And my
okay.
daughter, I really want to get her into things that I enjoyed growing up. So, it would revolve around her playing hockey, her snowboarding, dirt bikes, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Anything outdoors,
Are you a
enjoying.
foodie?
Am I a foodie? No.
No, really?
No. I enjoy a good meal, but I eat to live. I don't live to eat. So like I'll be so busy and I'm like, I have a headache. And I'm like, oh, I
I
haven't
wonder
eaten.
why.
Yeah, I didn't eat in 5 hours. Like,
And
but I do
what
enjoy a good meal, but I don't.
what's your favorite adult drink?
Oh, I don't drink. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
it,
straight
so
edge.
so water.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
kind of welder are you? What's wrong with
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I don't drink. I never have. So that's not
You
something
never
I got
have.
into. No.
Good
No.
for you. That's why you're gonna live a lot longer than most of us. Yeah.
I don't know. Does the welding fumes counteract it? Maybe.
Well, but yeah, well, most of the other welders do both a lot. So, that's what I'm saying. Well, good for you. I don't think I haven't met many welders that just that don't drink. So it's a trade, I'm telling you.
It's
But
the
I
trade.
want to give you kudos for a couple of things. Some of the stuff that I heard, trying to pay it forward and really teach that younger generation coming behind you that hey, there's so many other avenues. Going to shows like the Women in the Trades and all that. Definitely, it sparks. It could spark something on someone else. Not just girls, but boys, just younger generation. Um,
Absolutely.
so communicating and letting them know that, hey, look, you got 3, 4, 5, 12, 20 things that you can do and still call yourself, I'm in the welding industry. So
Yeah.
kudos to you. Definitely, I love how women like you that didn't have that much of a mentor growing up when it comes to the female side of it, still pushed forward and made it happen, and now are doing their due diligence to pay it forward. So that speaks about you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with that being said, I thank you for going through the whole struggle of trying to get this done, this interview, this conversation. That's how I call them. It's an honor for me to have you here, especially being the first one that I do via video. But I still want to do a live version when I'm in Ontario because I'm in Canada like at least 4 times a year.
Awesome.
Um, so
I would like to
definitely,
meet you, and it would be fun to do something live. We could
for
do it in
sure.
Toronto or something. Be great.
For sure. So I know I'll be going there a lot. I handle Canada as well, so definitely it's part of my thing. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, cool. But Kearney, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for what you do. Go enjoy your Saturday. And for those two viewers out there watching, um, Thank you, guys. I hope you keep watching, and this is what we do. If they keep saying yes, who am I to say no?
That's wonderful. Thank you for getting this out and having me on.
No, thank you. Take care and enjoy your weekend.
You too.